UDL. What kinds of assessment are used in your host classroom? Would you use the same assessments in your own classroom? In the classroom that I was observing, and the teacher uses different types of assessments for each subject. They begin the day with English, which includes reading, writing, and word parts. They first start by doing all of the activities as a whole. This is the basic level of the subject, including the alphabet, sound parts, and letter structure. They do this as a whole every day to make sure that everyone understands the basic. The assistant teacher then begins pulling students back one by one. Each student has a word ring, which has words and letters that they need extra help with. They spend a few minutes with the assistant teacher working individually on what they do not know. When observing this, it is clear which students are at a more advanced level. This helps the teacher by allowing her to teach the class as a whole while still meeting the needs of those who need extra help. They are then split into groups, and each group is composed of students who are at the same learning level. Groups 2 and 3 are at intermediate level, Group 4 is at an advanced level, and Group 1 is still at the beginner level for this subject. When doing their group work, Group 4 does the same assignment as 1 and 3, but at a more advanced level. Math has the same basic learning structure where the teacher works with the class as a whole and the assistant teacher is pulling students back individually. When it comes to group work, they are in different groups based on how well they understand the material. When Group 1 is comparing numbers to objects, Group 4 will be doing the same by adding the numbers and then comparing them for math. While the students are doing work as a whole, the teacher is constantly assessing them based on their participation and enthusiasm. If the student is not participating, she will ask the whole class to try again, and if the student is still having trouble, then she will work with them separately later or ask the assistant teacher to focus more on this with the student later. When it comes to group work, the teacher will announce to the class how much time she wants them to have done before the time is up. If there are 12 problems, she will ask them to complete 6 of the problems. Their work is placed into a bin where the teacher will go over it at a later time. If she begins to notice that a student is falling behind or jumping ahead, they will be switched to a new group accordingly. I was lucky enough to be placed in a kindergarten classroom considering that is the grade that I would like to teach. With this being said, I have learned so much from the host teacher in ways of teaching as well as assessing the class. I definitely plan to use a majority of what I have learned from the host teacher in my future classroom. She is mindful of where the students are placed within the class and makes sure that no student will be placed in a group where they feel like they are less than another student. And she always makes sure that as a whole class, they are working on something that everyone understands. This ensures equal participation as well as giving them the option to help one another when needed. What is the best part of teaching? So I interviewed my teacher, one of my previous teachers that had taught me in elementary school, and she said the best part of teaching is when you can finally make a connection with the student. This being either on a personal level, educational level, or just in general. When you're able to connect with a student, this is when the real learning begins. Not only are you there to help the student learn, but you are also a role model who is helping to shape them into who they will become. What has been your greatest achievement as a teacher? My greatest achievement as a teacher would be seeing my first class of 8th graders graduate. Seeing all of their smiling faces walk across the stage and thank me was the proudest moment of teaching I've had to date. What has been the greatest disappointment as a teacher? My greatest disappointment as a teacher would be when I work so hard with a student to improve their grades and you see them putting in the time and effort, but it's just too late in the semester. This is always hard for me because I am able to see them putting in the effort and know that they really want it. At this point, there is nothing else you can do but encourage them for next time. What are the greatest challenges for teachers? The greatest challenge for teachers is staying calm. Sometimes there are students who will not listen or who are acting inappropriately in the classroom, and you have to remain calm and know how to handle the situation. What are your non-teaching duties and time requirements? Non-teaching and time requirements would be supporting my students outside the classroom. Many of my students participate in sports outside of class, and I found that if you support your students in things that they are interested in, then they will more likely to respect you inside the classroom. In addition to this, there is grading papers outside the classroom and meeting with the parents as well as students. In what ways are schools successful? Schools are successful because they offer an education to everyone. They keep kids interested in attending by offering fun incentives such as field trips and sports. Schools also allow for students to make new friends as well as develop into adults. It prepares them for the real world. What advice do you have for someone considering a career in teaching? When someone's considering teaching, the first thing I would tell them is to not give up. There will always be hard days and there will always be easy days. Teaching is not for someone who is easily angered, and patience is key. Without patience, you will never be able to learn how to handle a classroom full of loud and wild students on your own. This second UDL that I discussed right now, I found this one to be more helpful because not only did I get to talk to the teacher, but I had prompting questions that helped to prepare me for my future as a teacher. She was very, very open with her answers and honest, and seeing this made me realize that this is something that I'm ready for and something that I would like to do in the future.